Happy holidays, everybody. Hope you all had a Merry Christmas and happy upcoming New Year. And so, for the fun of it, I thought on my secondary channel I would do a live stream that I haven't done in a while. I haven't done a live stream in a while in general. So, I thought for fun, why not do something that I had in mind for a while? And that is ranking Christmas movies. So, let me go ahead and get myself better set up here. I forgot to set up the share screen stuff. Hide that. Got it. And we'll do it like that. All right. Should be. Oops. Show my Discord, but I guess it's not that big a deal. But anyway, so how we're going to rank Christmas movies is with the good old tier maker, because that is one of the most structured ways of being able to do it in recent memory and recent history, because, well, it's how the internet has become, I guess. Anyway, without getting too rambly, let's get right into it. This list, 180 plus movies. It's a long one right here. It doesn't look quite like 180 of them, but I don't know. I guess whatever. And maybe I'll end up like adding a few, depending on if it's not including some that I have watched. Like just last night, I had watched 4 Christmases, and honestly, it was trash. Just gonna be honest, it was pretty bad. This tier maker does not have a haven't watched category, so I guess I'll just say like, yeah, haven't watched. Down at the bottom there will be the haven't watched category, and I'll just put in horrible / trash for this second to bottom one. But anyway, so up first is, of course, good old Die Hard. I like Die Hard. Honestly, anybody who thinks that's not a Christmas movie, I think what gets me the most thinking that it's like a Christmas movie is the fact of how much it centers around a bit of a Christmas spirit. I mean, it takes place within a Christmas party, or a Christmas party gets interrupted, rather, and fair amount of Christmas music and all that stuff utilized in it, even though that it was released out in July of its appropriate year, 1988, I believe it was. But yeah, fun movie. It is, I will grant, a little bit more on the action side of things than the Christmas side of things, but I think that there's enough Christmas spirit within this movie for me to personally include it, just like the maker of this tier maker list has decided to include it. Although maybe there will be like a movie that I do not consider to be Christmassy enough, and maybe I'll just put that in the haven't watched category once I get to them. But anyway, Die Hard, fun action movie. Of course, the old charismatic John McClane, the ever so suave and charismatic Hans Gruber, played by Alan Rickman, rest in peace, and all that jazz. Yeah, I don't like it quite as much as another movie that's kind of like it, but we'll get to that one in due time. Love Hard, I have not ever seen that movie. Is it even worth watching? Prancer, haven't seen that one. Happiest Season, haven't watched that one. I guess maybe this isn't like one of the optimal like ranking videos, because in the ultimatum of things, I haven't seen probably most of these Christmas movies. But anyway, we're doing this just for the heck of it. Prancer, there are 2 Prancer movies? Huh. Like some D tier low budget schlock. Operation Christmas Drop, Candy Cane Lane, haven't watched that. 12 Men for Christmas. Wait. No, that's not okay. I was thinking for a second there are 13 Brothers for 13 Brides, or 12 Brothers for 12 Brides. It was some kind of old movie. Has anyone else ever like watched that movie before, or just me? I have seen that movie. It's been a few years, but it's an older movie, and I don't know. For some reason, I was almost thinking that it was that. The Flight Before Christmas. No, haven't seen it, and that looks real bad just looking at the 3D animation on it alone. A Peanut Christmas. it has been years since I've watched a Peanut Christmas, but I guess I'll go ahead and rank it in the good category. Not much to say about it, but I remember it being charming enough. Now, another particular like a Christmas short that may or may not be on this list, that is rather near and dear to people's hearts. I'm gonna have a bit of a hot take on it once we get to it. It's a Wonderful Life. I will stand for It's a Wonderful Life. It is the absolute best Christmas movie ever, in my opinion. Just so compelling. The whole storyline of a man who had high ambitions in life, wanted to like get out of his small town and, live what he thought was a wonderful life when he doesn't think his current life is a wonderful life. And the fact that everything like comes collapsing in on itself to where that he almost wants to attempt suicide, only for him to have an angel come to him and tell him and show him, excuse me, what his life would be like if he did not ever live. Okay, I had a much better way of summarizing this movie in a live stream that I had 1 year ago with loudmouth reviews. But just, it's a very compelling and I would say almost perfect movie. Like, I cannot think of a single writing flaw with this movie. The only nitpick that I have with it is that they did not beat the crap out of Potter. That's like really the one and only flaw about it all, is that Potter doesn't get his comeuppance. We do not get the catharsis of seeing him getting his comeuppance by anybody like beating him up or anything like that. But I guess the movie had to have some realism in it, and the realism that it decided to keep in there is that honestly, evil rich people do exist, and not all of them are going to get their comeuppance. But hey, at least it like gave us the happy ending that we all wanted, and man, was that happy ending well deserved. Like, the real challenge of this movie does not come about until about the last third of the movie, and really that's what people remember the most about It's a Wonderful Life, is the last third of when that his brother was off in World War II. After Joseph, I think was the one angel talking to Clarence, the angel's second class. Is he's telling Clarence about how life has been progressing for everybody now that World War II has kicked off and all that jazz. And it's after he gives that bit of monologue that the movie really gets going. People remember the movie most after that little compilation of when that he loses the money, or rather his Uncle Billy loses the money, and he ends up getting threatened with bankruptcy and jail time, getting taken away from his wife and kids. And his wife and kids likely being in like extreme poverty in their own right, and all that stuff. And it just like blindsides him to make himself think that, hey, I don't have a great life right now. I think it would be better if nobody if I was never born, if nobody ever knew me. I can only guess that he got to thinking of that because of the fact that what am I trying to say? The fact that he ended up lashing out somebody who, quite frankly, did not deserve that. That being Uncle Billy, and of course, he lashed out at his wife and kids as well when he snaps to the realization that they did not deserve it either. So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot better way of summarizing it, but just ultimately, I legitimately think it's a perfect movie. Not a single flaw in it. The black and white, I mean, yeah, sure, there's a bit of an acquired taste with black and white films, but I think that this movie is at its best when it's experienced in black and white. I think it adds to the charm of the viewing experience. And just the acting, oh, yeah, I gotta emphasize the acting. I don't think there is one single bad performance in this movie. The acting for Potter, for Mr. Potter, the way that the guy just grumbles and twists and contorts his face with every little reaction. It just adds to the megalomania and villainy of the character. Jimmy Stewart, of course, letting his own wartime PTSD, filtering that through the camera for the act of this movie. That was phenomenal. I mean, you all probably know about the backstory about that. And even the child actors. Like, honestly, it is a real rarity for you to have, like, an honest to goodness, like, good child performance. But lo and behold, this movie probably has some real great child performances. Like the one eldest son of the Bailey family. When George like lashes out at them all, he just like gives the probably the most perfect performance that I can see of a kid just locking up, having an emotional lockup of witnessing his own parent like lashing out. And of course, the one daughter who was practicing the piano, the way that she cried and all that stuff, just great performances all around, long and short of it. Now I need to move on. I went on too long about It's a Wonderful Life. But seriously, I feel so passionate about this movie. I love it. If you haven't seen it, well then, by time for you to like get an adult's taste on movies and watch this. It is at the bare minimum at least an 8 out of 10 movie. I think if anybody was to watch it and give it a chance, but in my opinion, it's a 10 out of 10 movie. 8-Bit Christmas, never seen that. The Holdovers, never seen that. Miracle on 34th Street. So, looking at the cover, this is obviously the 90s remake of it, and this is one of the newest movies that I have watched as of this holiday season. And I think that it's I don't know whether I would consider it okay or outright bad. Like, it's not obviously, I don't consider it to be horrible or trash. It's just, I'll put it in the bad category. Like, when you are looking at remakes, it is hard for you to avoid making a comparison to its older predecessor. And when I go looking at this movie, I can't help but think of that. Of course, I can still acknowledge the goodness of Richard Attenborough's like a performance as Kris Kringle. That was all well and good. It was all charming, his performance that he put on as Santa Claus. But aside from that, I think the rest of the movie was just kind of bleh, forgettable, or even outright bad. The child actress for, I can't even remember her name right now, but apparently she played as Matilda in the one movie Matilda with Danny DeVito in it. You guys ever seen that movie? I honestly don't think that she's that good in this movie. Her performance is just overly stoic, and well, I cannot say stoic really because she does have a bit of a range of emotions, but honestly, it's pretty stiff. Her the way that she acts, especially if you compare her to the child actresses in It's a Wonderful Life, or just child actors in general in It's a Wonderful Life, she does not give that good of a performance. Plus, I think the one downside above everything else about this movie is that it just plays itself way too overly seriously. Like the original It's a Miracle on 34th Street was pretty good. Not great. Like, I thought that the ending kind of took a bit of a nosedive, but it was very charming. All these interactions that Santa was having with all the characters. But this version of Miracle just plays it way too seriously and melodramatic and melancholy, especially for a Christmas movie, if I'm to be frank. Like, it just focuses way too much on the romance, I think, and it did not even like execute the romance subplot in this movie all that compellingly. Like, I am not one to be like against romance stories, but out of all romance stories I've seen, especially in recent times, this has got to be like one of the weaker ones, is the romance subplot of the 90s Miracle on 34th Street. And plus, I gotta say that the one scene of where that they have the super rush, like tiny sudden wedding between the two adults, like the mother of the child and her friend slash boyfriend, the way that it was so quickly executed, that was just, honestly, that was cheesier than even the giant letter drop in the courtroom in the original Miracle on 34th Street. I will say that the way that the court scenario was like handled, I do like it just a little bit better in the 90s version, but that was not near enough to save it from me ranking it this low, considering all the rest of the bad things in this movie. And plus, might I also add that the the crux as to how that Kris Kringle ends up arrested and put in the mental ward in this version of Miracle is not as compelling as what caused Kris to be locked up in the original version. In the original version, he stands up against this one douchey therapist guy who kind of berates one of the Macy's employees, which honestly, that might I just add that Macy's employee in the original version, he kind of looks like Kyle Rittenhouse. If you guys were to ever watch the old Miracle on 34th Street or look up pictures of him, you probably could see a lot of resemblance between him and Kyle Rittenhouse. It's like, is Kyle Rittenhouse a time traveler? No, obviously not. But still, it kind of looks similar. But anyway, in this version, though, instead of him standing up for somebody else's sake, standing up to a guy who was bullying and berating a Macy's employee that he was like having a developing, encouraging relationship with, instead, he snaps at the ex-Santa actor that he replaced for Kohl's, is the name of the store in this version of Miracle. He gets provoked by that guy, implying and pretty much accusing him of being a pedophile. Which it's terrible, absolutely terrible and slanderous that somebody would be falsely accused of pedophilia, like in this story Kris Kringle was. But it's just still not quite as compelling as seeing Santa Claus standing up for another person's sake and getting violent because for that person's sake. But anyway, let's see. Is there something in the live chat? Hey, what's up, Red Feather? How are you? All right, next up on the list is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. This movie is great. I mean, it's mostly just funny shenanigans. It's not very plot strong, but I think I had to agree with Loudmouth Reviews that it is probably the funniest Christmas movie out there. But I mean, there is a little bit of a compelling story behind it of how that you have the typical like suburban American dad trying to fulfill all the obligations, all the Christmas obligations of having family over, setting up decorations and all that stuff, just portraying all the struggles and anxiety of the time around the holidays, like every man does around the holidays, especially a man with a family. There is a bit of that, but I think the main selling point of this movie is the comedy factor. And might I say, I busted a gut laughing, especially at the beginning part. That was probably the funniest point of this whole movie. Like, the rest of it is funny, but the beginning is the funniest. Like when he's trying to race off these other like truck drivers or whatever they were, and he goes like, "Oh, hey, look, kids, a bird," and just flips off the guys over in the car next to him. I busted a gut laughing at that. It was hysterical. Not much to say. Funny movie. Great movie. Trading Places. I have never seen that. Home Alone. Okay. Home Alone is funny in its own right. It's probably not quite as funny as National Lampoon, but honestly, it's got a whole lot more of a compelling story behind it, and it kind of invokes childlike imagination. Like, you know, all the movies of kids going on a fantasy adventure, like that of Narnia or the Polar Express, for that matter. Home Alone is kind of like that, except he's not in a fictional fantasy scenario. He's stuck all home alone, and you know the possibilities are just wide open for this kid. And honestly, when you go watching this at such a young age, you can't help but imagine yourself in that kid's situation, which pretty much, yeah, that kind of is what Kevin McAllister, played by Macaulay Culkin, is. He's supposed to be pretty much an everyman, or an every kid, rather, for every kid to like put themselves in his shoes and feel the danger of the scenario of having two robbers trying to get him. But yeah, and also there's a plot of him learning to appreciate his family more, and the bond that he develops with the snow shovel guy. I can't even remember the old guy's name, but the old guy, he's a great character as well. And how they both, through talking to each other and getting to know each other, get to know how to appreciate each other, both of their appropriate families. The old guy for his son, mostly his son and his family, And of course, Kevin appreciating his family. And Buzz, too, for that matter, to a certain extent, learns to appreciate Kevin as well. Home Alone 2, not as good as the first Home Alone, but I still think that's great. Like, it's not as grounded. Like, go watch Unusual Suspect's review of Home Alone 2, and he will point it out for you that Home Alone 2, all the slapstick comedy and the booby traps that he sets up for Marvin, God, I cannot remember his name, the George Pesci character, Marv and the George Pesci character, all the booby traps that he sets up for them would actually be deathly. Whereas in the first Home Alone, you could see them two possibly or even most likely surviving those scenarios. But in these ones, you got freaking Marv touching an electrical cable and holding on to that for quite a few solid seconds. And he's electrocuted so badly to where that even shows his skeleton. And you have bricks that are dropped on their heads too. Like, man, that's a concussion and a half. Like, it was, well, actually, that's like 5 concussions in one setting. Like, it was bad enough that you had a hot iron smacked in one of their heads, but now you're throwing bricks at Marv's head. Yeah, he's dead. But Home Alone 2 is still funny in its own right, and the relationship that he develops with the pigeon lady was nice, even though I am quite annoyed that the pigeon lady does not have an actual name in that movie. It's still fun, but ultimately it's just a copycat story of the first. It's pretty much beat for beat a copycat storyline of the first one, just maybe a tad bit funnier. So therefore, that's kind of how that it suffers a bit. But at the same time, I think a couple of its strong points that it has over Home Alone is one, Christmas in New York. It always looks pretty Christmas time in New York, and that's part of the reason as to why that I honestly like the Hawkeye series of the MCU. Even though MCU, I mean, the Hawkeye series might be bad in a lot of ways, but I still have a bit of a soft spot for it because I like Christmas and all that stuff. But anyway, not talking about Hawkeye. Christmas in New York, and also Tim Curry putting on a very freaking entertaining performance in this movie. But aside from those 2 strong points, it's not enough to save it from being ranked this low. Still great, though. All right. Home Alone 3, I don't think I've ever seen it in full. I don't even think I'm able to rank it well enough because I haven't seen enough reviews even, let alone enough of the movie itself to rank it. But from what I vaguely remember, it's bad. If I was to watch it, it'd probably be somewhere here, maybe even here. But for right now, it's just going there. I haven't seen any other Home Alone at all, the least bit of it, past Home Alone 3. So all the 3 following ones just getting ranked or put immediately in the haven't watched category. A Christmas Carol, the George C. Scott version. This is I think Loudmouth Reviews' favorite version of A Christmas Carol, but maybe I have watched it, but it would have been almost 2 decades ago that I would have last watched it, so I don't even remember it. So it's going pretty much in the haven't watched category. Or maybe I should call this the haven't watched, don't remember category. All right. So Illumination's Grinch. Now, if Illumination, the version of the Grinch, was not included on this, I would not go out of my way to rank it because I haven't seen most of it. I have seen probably the first third, or at least the first quarter of this movie. Plus, I've kept on seeing multiple reviews of this movie. And I haven't heard one single positive review of this movie. I mean, if they exist out there, maybe I should go out of my way and watch and listen to them, listen to alternative opinions. And maybe for that matter, I should watch it in full myself to get a fully flushed out opinion of it. But for right now, I'm just putting in the horrible trash category because honestly, it's just so freaking boring in comparison to the Jim Carrey Grinch. For everybody who knocks on the Jim Carrey Grinch, I dare you to say that Illumination Grinch is somehow better. Like, the Grinch is supposed to be like this almost villainous, like scary character. There isn't any really villainy. He's just mostly more grumpy than anything. And I even like, even though I haven't watched the movie in its entirety myself, I have watched EFAP's reaction to this movie, and listening to their reactions and listening and even watching the footage with them as they're watching it, he doesn't even like abuse Max. So it kind of really devalues the villainy factor of him to where that it would make his redemption although worthwhile watching. So it's not even, it's like as if the Grinch goes from here to here, like barely any change on how much better that he gets, because he ultimately is not that bad. He's just a mildly grumpy weirdo, as Schaeferless Productions puts it, who only causes like a few mild inconveniences, like knocks a jar off the shelf or eats a pickle without paying for it, to rip off a couple of things that he points out. And ultimately, when I saw for myself that all the Whovians that were singing Christmas carols, that they were just casually and nonchalantly following him, not in the least bit scared of him, it was that moment that I knew, yeah, this movie is bad. Because ultimately they just made the Grinch into a childlike, fluffy joke. Not scary joke. All right. So moving on to the Jim Carrey Grinch. Now, okay, I won't put it in the great category, but I don't care what anyone says. I think that the Jim Carrey Grinch is a good movie. I won't put it in the great category because I guess it does like take maybe a few too many liberties as far as the Grinch lore goes. But honestly, actually, no. I'll go and put it in the great category. I'll put it below Home Alone 2 and National Lampoon Christmas Vacation, though, because of the few flaws that are in with the movie. I mean, you cannot deny that there was a high amount of effort put into this movie. The set design and the costumes and everything. There's a couple of things that EFAP pointed out when I listened to their reaction to it. But when I go thinking about them pointing it out, I go thinking, yeah, whenever I remember like watching the movie, yeah, there's a lot of effort. Like all the different devices and the buildings that they designed for this movie look very Dr. Seussian. And plus the costumes are very convincing of where that, the Who's have their noses that are just like, snouted out like a pig nose, and the bit of flesh that just like, smoothly meets the bridge of their nose and their mouth. And especially the costume for Jim Carrey's Grinch. All the stuff that I go hearing about that, about how it felt like being buried alive and that he had to like undergo CIA torture training in order to endure wearing that costume on set. Like, it's because of those things alone that I cannot put it in the bad category. I can't even put it in the just okay category. If somebody was to argue with me, the worst that I put it in is the good category, but I think it's great. And plus the megalomaniacal, like funny, freaking, what am I trying to say? And funny performance that Jim Carrey puts on is just so damn entertaining to watch. Even though it's a bit of a diversion from the original Grinch personality in the 60s cartoon, I still like it for what it is. Like, everybody who is attached to the 60s version, I get it. And if you do not really like Jim Carrey's Grinch yourself, if you personally would put it in the bad category or even just the okay category, well, then I understand at least. But me personally, this is my ranking, and that's where that I'll put it. And anybody who doesn't like it, well, you can take it up in the comment section down below. Let me go ahead and catch up on the chat here a bit. Hey, Darkon, I'm all right. Thanks. How are you? I'm good. I love when Clark gets stuck in the attic. Talking about National Lampoon Christmas Vacation. Yeah. Maybe I should watch that again. I've only seen it once, and that was last holiday season. And when he blinds the asshole neighbors. I like the second Home Alone as well. Yep. In recent times, they edit Trump out when they show it on TV. Not surprising. Joe Pesci, lol, and his name is Harry. Right. Harry and Marv. Thanks for reminding me of that, Red. Um, LOL, yeah, it even less believable. Tim Curry was pretty funny too. Only saw 1 and 2. Yep, me too. I like the original cartoon Grinch. I didn't care for that. Boo. Sorry, Red. Sorry, I'm gonna disappoint a lot of people, but honestly, I think it's great. And I guess to explain a little bit more, the reason why that I rank it above a Peanut Christmas is probably because that there is more content in it, even story content of where that there is the Grinch that is ultimately Cindy Lou is trying to put Grinch on this redemption arc. Like in the Peanut Christmas, there is not really much of a redemption arc. Not from what I remember, anyways. Like I'm sure that Charlie Brown goes on his own type of arc, but it's not like he goes from a villain to a good guy. Unlike Jim Carrey Grinch, who's pretty much a megalomaniacal, over-the-top villain, only for his heart to get touched by, with help from Cindy Lou, and also the epiphany that he comes to what the true meaning of Christmas is about, and also honestly him like feeling more motivated to save the present because of Cindy Lou being stuck on the sleigh, and that motivates him to like gather up more of the strength to pick that thing up where he could not before. That's just real compelling stuff. Like honestly, that's probably like one of the better changes that the Jim Carrey Grinch does as compared to the cartoon Grinch. The cartoon Grinch, Cindy Lou isn't there. There's nobody like that is on the sleigh. I mean, Jim Carrey's Grinch even says, "Oh well, it's just toys, right?" Like if it was just toys, he probably would have just let it all go, and probably would have just turned himself into the Who's, if anything else, and they probably would have gone ahead and arrested his ass. But because of the fact that Cindy Lou was on there, it was like, okay, now I care. Let's save this slate, and ultimately save Cindy Lou. Like that just makes it a little bit more investable. It doesn't really make much sense why Cindy Lou decided to climb on top of that sleigh, granted, but still, because of that added bit more of investability and compellingness, I say that that is one extra strong point on this movie compared to the original cartoon Grinch. In fact, speaking of cartoon Grinch, do they even have it on here? I'm not sure. We'll have to see later if they have it on there. But getting on with it, Blood Fiel, haven't seen that. Home for Christmas, haven't seen that. Trapped in Paradise, nope. Bad Moms 2, nope. The Year Without a Santa Claus, nope. Christmas in Boston, nope. Christmas, Bloody Christmas. I think I saw like Cracked did a ranking of all the different Santa Clauses, trying to figure out which one is the most powerful of all the of all the Santa Clauses, and that included this guy. So I have heard of this, but I haven't seen it. So it's on the haven't watched, don't remember list. Christmas Cottage, haven't seen that. Holiday in Handcuffs, nope. Shop Around the Corner, nope. All right, Elf. All right, so I think it's just okay. I don't know. Maybe I should put it in the good category, but I would put it down to the bottom of the good category. Either the top of the okay or bottom of the good. And I'll put it at bottom of the good. I'm not going to be that unfair to it. Like, here's another hot take that I have about Christmas movies to give to you all. I think that Elf is, quite frankly, way overrated. Like, pros about it, Will Ferrell's performance as Buddy Elf, I think, was pretty decent. Like, he is able to exude that bit of Christmas charm that might be a bit grating to your average grumpy Grinch-like citizen. But because he's so charming and is able to like decorate up the mall store, he's able to put back in the Christmas spirit in the one cashier guy who works there at that mall. So it's rather fascinating to watch. And plus, Ed Asner's Santa Claus was pretty cool and charismatic as well, I think. And also the old elf the older elf character that raised Buddy was a pretty good character too. I wish that he was in the movie more. But why that I think that Elf is overrated? Okay, actually, there's one other good part about it. I do think that it is decently funny. Like, what I think is the funniest part of the whole movie was a Peter Dinklage scene of where that Peter Dinklage wants to kick Will Ferrell's ass in that movie because he's just set off in that scene. It was decently funny. But the biggest reason why I think that Elf is overrated is because of the story that's based around. And also, like, the rather low scale, like, bad interpretation of the North Pole that they have in this movie. Like, honestly, it was almost like that they were trying to put live action characters in the claymated Santa Claus or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer movie. And that just looked weird. And it did not like flush out very well. It just made the whole North Pole world feel small. Like, honestly, as bad as Fred Claus is as an overall Christmas movie, even that movie had a better interpretation of the North Pole than Elf. So did Polar Express and The Santa Claus with Tim Allen in it. All those three movies have better interpretations of the North Pole than Elf. Whereas Elf looks like a dingy, one singular, like overly gray and shittily designed workshop in the middle of an Arctic tundra. It's just very boring and underwhelming to watch. But probably the weakest part of the whole movie is the story that's based around. So Buddy finds out that of where his dad is, and he wants to go reunite with his dad. It's a bit of a fish out of water kind of story, and there are some awkward points in the movie that don't really land it for me. But probably the biggest stick that I have with this movie is the resolution to it all. See, throughout the entire movie, out of all the people who act all kind of grinchy and scroogey at Buddy, his dad is probably the worst of them. Like, his dad just wants him to go away, leave him alone, and just let him get on with his business life as he's trying to, I think he's trying to, like, market a book to Peter Dinklage's character so that Peter Dinklage's character could, like, publish his book. And Buddy ruins it for him. Like, one moment you have him, like, reuniting with his dad. His dad doesn't want him to have anything to do with him, wants him to go away. In fact, the next moment, you have Buddy making things even worse by ruining this business pitching that he's trying to do with Peter Dinklage. I'm just going to call him Peter Dinklage. This pitch that he's trying to do with Peter Dinklage, Buddy ruins it for his dad. And then the very next moment, suddenly his dad wants to help him save Christmas. Am I missing something here? Like, talk about the most out of nowhere 180 in the history of movies. Like, if anything, his dad should be more mad at him than ever before. And so it just doesn't make sense as to why that he suddenly wants to help his son. That being Will Ferrell Elf. But yeah, I think it's overrated for those reasons. But there are some good things about the movie to where that I can at least be fair to it. All right. So moving on. Just Another Christmas. Haven't seen that. Christmas in Connecticut. No. Diez de Navidad, I think is how you pronounce that. Haven't seen that. Christmas in the Heartland, no. Just Friends, no. Remember the Night, no. Pete's Christmas, no. Better Watch Out, no. Family Man, no. Navigating Christmas, no. Damn, I'm putting a lot of movies in the haven't watched category. That's probably the biggest reason why I'm able to, like, do this tier maker list, is because of how many of these 180 plus movies I'm able to just put in the haven't watched category. Whatever this Christmas movie is, I can't even read it. It just looks like another cheap Hallmark movie. Haven't watched it. That's probably, like, the biggest reason why so many of these movies I haven't watched, is because all of them are just, like, B-rated, low-budget, shitty Hallmark movies. The Claus Family, haven't watched that. Claus Family 2, no. And 3, no. Haven't watched any of those. Haven't even heard of them until now. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and catch up with the live chat here for a second. What's up, Arkham Knight Rider and Mr. Scott? My mother loves the Christmas Chronicles. Yeah, we'll get to it. Mostly because it has Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn in it. I find it annoying. Oh, I love Elf, you heathen. I mean, to each their own, Red. It has some great scenes, but overall, Elf was meh to me. Red says, "Y'all are wrong." Was Bob Hart in that movie? Asked Mr. Scott. What? The old elf was Bob Newhart. Okay. You sit on a throne of lies was the most memorable scene, as long as Bob Newhart scenes. Otherwise, I forgot the rest of the movie. Red Feather says, "Yeah, but his dad comes around. Did you not see the end?" I did, and that's my thing, is that his dad like makes the complete 180 change just out of nowhere. Like there was no real development for his change of heart towards his son. That's my problem with it. It just came out of nowhere, especially coming off the heels of Buddy ruining the business pitch that he was doing to Peter Dinklage. Well, the dad's family was complaining about how much he worked. That doesn't seem enough. Arkham Knight Rider asks, "Can I join your stream or no?" I don't know. I think I'd rather not, Arkham. I think I'm gonna make this a standalone live stream. I don't know. Maybe I'll have you come in at the end if you want to, so you could like toss in your 2 cents or something. I don't know. Actually, for right now, I'm just gonna say no guests. Sorry, Arkham. What does it say? Switched again? I don't know. But either way, I haven't seen that movie. A Not So Merry Christmas? No. I can't even make that out. No. Okay, Christmas Chronicles 2. I have not watched that movie. So I've watched the first one, and I think they have the first Christmas Chronicles in here. Yeah, there it is. But I haven't seen the second one, so we're just gonna put it in the haven't watched category. Spirited, that's a very new Christmas movie, and honestly, I'm not too compelled to want to watch it because it has, honestly, 2 actors that aren't that big of a hook for me. Like Ryan Reynolds can be a hook for me, but depending on what kind of role that he's being casted in, and Will Ferrell is definitely not a hook for me. Like, I didn't watch the Lego movie for Will Ferrell. I watched the Lego movie because I'm big into Legos, real big into Legos. And I did not watch Elf for Will Ferrell either. I watched Elf because I seen it advertised everywhere, and not to mention some of my friends were watching the movie too. So, yeah. 12 Dates of Christmas? No. I Believe in Santa? No. A Christmas. Wait, what? A Christmas Story Christmas? Weird title there, but I haven't seen that. Noel? No. Mystery of Mistletoe Lane? No. Santa Claus 3. Funny of how that Santa Claus 3 has come on this list before the other Santa Clauses have. But let's take on Santa Claus 3. Actually, I cannot take on Santa Claus 3 because it's been so many years since I watched that movie. All I can remember about Santa Claus 3 was that ultimately it was pretty boring. Like, very, very boring. I can't even, like, muster up the hate against it to call it outright horrible or trash. But I just remember it being, like, so boringly bad. And so, yeah, I'm going to put it right beneath Miracle on 34th Street, the 90s version. All right. Robert Zemeckis, Jim Carrey, A Christmas Carol, the motion capture version. Honestly, I think it's bad. You know, I'll put it above Santa Claus 3. But the reason why I think that A Christmas Carol is bad, like, honestly, Loudmouth Reviews makes a very compelling case as to what the good aspects are of this movie, and that it's probably the most faithful to the book of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. But I haven't personally read it, so I can't really judge. And dang it! Oh, shook my desk there. Maybe I should like not talk so loud. Maybe I don't have to talk so loud. I'm about to lose my voice because of how much I'm talking. But anyway, Jim Carrey motion capture A Christmas Carol. Like, there are some good aspects about it from what I vaguely remember of it. Like, I especially like the one scene of where that his nephew's guests are playing a party game with each other, of where that the nephew is having them all guess what he's thinking of. He gives them all clues, or they ask for clues, and one of the guests says an ass, and the nephew says, well, yes and no. That's honestly pretty funny to me, and especially coming out of what is supposed to be a kids film, to hear ass being said in a kids film was a bit edgy when I very first ever watched this movie. But honestly, this version of Christmas Carol is just so overwhelmed by how many like wacky shenanigans go on within the movie. Like, it just zips and zooms all over the place and doesn't want to actually settle down. It puts freaking Ebenezer Scrooge on this all these wild joy rides, if you can even call them that. He's being chased down by the ghost of Christmas Future. He's being rocketed up by the candle put out the candle lid of the ghost of Christmas Past and all that stuff. And it's not funny. It's not entertaining. It just comes off as way too try hard. Like, if this movie was wanting to be mature, but also silly and kiddie-fied at the same time, and just, I don't know what it is about it, but it just did not work. It was like as if the movie was actively trying to be the next Polar Express, but here's the thing. You'll never be as fun to watch as the Polar Express. Sorry, but not sorry. And honestly, there's also all the uncanny valley aspects of watching all the characters' faces in this movie, especially when there's the one scene of where that Bob Cratchit gets close to Ebenezer Scrooge's face. Loudmouth pointed out that scene to me, and I remember that scene. And honestly, I get what they were trying to go for. They were trying to cinematograph, if that's even a word. They're trying to cinematograph this one moment of Ebenezer being tormented by seeing the sadness and anguish in Bob Cratchit's face. But honestly, I'm just way too distracted by the uncanny valley aspect of looking at Bob Cratchit's motion capture weird ass looking face in that clip. So it just did not land it for me. Nothing lands it in this movie for me. It's ultimately a 2 out of 10 movie, and I do not really look forward to ever want to give it a rewatch. A Holiday Road, haven't seen that. Arthur Christmas. I hear pretty good things about this movie, Arthur Christmas. So, I really should watch it, and I wish I could rank it, but because I haven't seen one bit of it, I can't. I mean, at least with Illumination Grinch, I have seen the first quarter of it, and I have seen plenty of reviews about it that go rather kind of in depth with it. But the most that I've seen of Arthur Christmas, reviews-wise, that is that I saw Schaefer Rose Productions ranking of all the Sony Pictures, the Sony animation movies. And he was rather brief with it. It sounds like a good movie, but I haven't watched it. I don't know enough about it, so I'm not going to rank it. The Princess Switch, nope. Princess Switch 3, nope. Catering Christmas, nope. All right. I'm going to go ahead and rank Klaus and then catch up on the live chat. Because, honestly, I love Klaus. Klaus was a great movie. Where would I put it, though? I would not put it below Jim Carrey Grinch, to be fair. It's better than Grinch. It's better than Home Alone 2. It's, heck, I think it's even better than National Lampoon Christmas Vacation. Okay, it's in the amazing category. I'm going to put it right below the first Home Alone. From what I remember, it's pretty great. I like their artistic portrayal of Santa Claus. Like, it is really hard for you to show me a bad interpretation of Santa. I can't even think of one version of Santa that is bad. Like Klaus, or excuse me, Jim Carrey's Grinch. Well, I guess that could be considered the worst interpretation of Santa Claus because he isn't even shown at all in that movie. But still, it's not. That's just like a lack of screen time, not actual bad quality. Elf, Great Santa, Miracle on 34th Street, 90s version, great interpretation. Even though if Richard Attenborough is not one of my favorite up there Santa Clauses, and Tim Allen's Santa Claus, even in Santa Claus 3. Tim Allen still gives on a pretty good performance. And Klaus is great in his own right, too. Like, at first, he's kind of this quiet, jaded character, and then it's because of, I can't even remember the mailman's, the main character's name. But essentially, the main character is kind of like Cusco from Emperor's New Groove, in that he's very selfish. And the only reason why he wants to get out of the town that he's assigned to work in by his dad is, well, the only reason why he works there is because he wants to get out of there. And inadvertently, he causes some good in the town, and he pushes into that. And it just kind of reinvigorates the spirit of Klaus, of Santa Claus. And I don't know. I really got to give a rewatch to this movie. It's not particularly funny, but it's a very beautiful movie with its animation style. And I like the arc that both of the characters go on. And I can't think much bad about it. So yeah, pretty amazing, I gotta say. You got the bird flu? No, I don't got the bird flu. I'm just talking too much is the problem, Red. Unfortunately, I've seen them both a ton. You've seen both of what a ton, Red? Mr. Scott says, I'm not a big fan of Will Ferrell. I like movies where he's not the lead. All right. All right. So, moving on. A Brush with Christmas, no, haven't seen that. Holiday Hotline, no. World Record Christmas, no. Muppet Christmas Carol, pretty great. I can't say that there was anything that particularly amazing about it, but I will put it in the great category at least. I'll go ahead and put it above everything, including National Lampoon Christmas Vacation. And that's already in the great category. I mean, it's great because of how charming it is, and Michael Caine gives a pretty great performance as Ebenezer Scrooge, and it pretty much fulfills what it means to be, and that being a Christmas Carol adaptation. Doesn't do anything particularly special, but because it's done in the way of Muppet characters, it's what adds to the charm of it. Plus, again, Michael Caine is pretty great. Not much to add. Just moving on. Scottish Christmas, nope. Scrooge, A Christmas Carol. This is like a CG animated version of A Christmas Carol. A Netflix adaptation too. Interesting. Unfortunately, I haven't seen it, so I can't judge. So it's going in the haven't watched category. Father Christmas is back. Haven't seen it. Angela's Christmas, another Netflix original. Haven't seen it. Angela's Christmas Wish. Haven't seen that either. Santa Claus 2. All right. So, funny story. For the longest time, I liked Santa Claus 2 better than the first Santa Claus. But after giving it a good old rewatch, both that and the first Santa Claus rewatch, it's been like 3 years since I've watched them both, but they're still fairly fresh in my memories, the good and the bad of both those movies. And really, it's obviously not as good. Bernard does not give as fun, the actor for Bernard anyways, does not give as fun of a performance, well, as Bernard in this movie as compared to the first one. In fact, he doesn't even give as good of a performance as his character in the Santa Claus is, that being the Disney Plus series based off of Tim Allen's Santa Claus. And the honestly, the final battle between all the Nutcrackers and the elves was pretty cheap and low stakes, and there wasn't that much tension with it. And I did not buy into the romance between Scott Calvin and what's her face that much. It seemed like kind of rushed. What other bad things about it? It just was ultimately not that great of a movie. Honestly, I do find the original character arc and story of the first Santa Claus to be far superior to that of the second one. But good things about the movie, Tim Allen's still great as Santa Claus. In fact, he gives a very fun to watch performance as the robot Santa Claus in this movie. Like, out of all the performances, that's probably like the funnest to watch one of them all. Like, especially when he goes fighting Scott Calvin on the sleigh. He it just gives all these one-liners. You're like, hey, I need that. Hey, why don't you? I don't know. I can't even remember every single line, but it's just it's a very funny, the one-liners that Tim Allen gives as Robot Santa to Scott Calvin. I'll put it only in the okay category because of that. Oh, another thing. Austin Lloyd as Charlie was still pretty good in this movie. In fact, Austin Lloyd, I don't think he's ever had a bad performance as Charlie. It's been years since I've seen Santa Claus 3, so I cannot judge that one, or I don't remember it enough to judge that one. But even in the Santa Claus's Disney Plus series, he gives a good performance in that one. And in Santa Claus 2, for some reason, I remembered it being like cringy. When I watched this in my childhood, I cringed very hard when he has the argument with his dad, Scott, and he cries in that argument. I just thought, grow up, you big baby. But honestly, when I actually watch and listen to that argument, and he's kind of sad at the fact that he cannot go talking that much about his dad. He's like pressured to keep this a very big secret. And honestly, given a rewatch back in 2021, I now understand better why he's crying in that moment. So, I mean, maybe there are other people out there who want to see him like man up and not cry so much in that scene. But it's at least more understandable than from what I remember originally. But yeah, Santa Claus 2, not good, but not completely bad either. So we got our first okay Christmas movie, y'all. Christmas Twister. Oh man, that looks so bad. So B-movie cheese right there. Hey, Arkham, I think we might have your type of movie right here. B-movie cheese, right? But anyway. Christmas Chronicles was Red Feather was answering my question from earlier. Okay. I gotcha. And speaking of, our very next movie, Christmas Chronicles. So, I'll put it in the okay category. Honestly, the best part about Christmas Chronicles is Kurt Russell as Santa Claus. Like, he gives this kind of nonchalant and just very smooth, probably the smoothest performance out of all the Santa Clauses. I kind of like it of how that he's like a trimmed down version. He's not so fat, not really in the slightest. He has this Santa robe that almost looks like a military general kind of outfit, and for some reason, somehow it works. Him rocking the not totally white, but still kind of mostly just gray, silver afro as Santa Claus, and the performances the interactions that he has with all the other characters, like especially when he just nonchalantly walks up to all the adults in the restaurants and he's just all like cool and nonchalant about it. He's all like, don't you know who I am? I'm Santa Claus. You remember, like so many years ago, you wanted that that toy monster truck back when you were a kid, yada, yada, yada. I mean, I'm not explaining it that well, but it is good to watch on screen. Unfortunately, the rest of the movie is kind of bad. Like the story like sets itself up fairly well, I think, in the first half. But by the time that we see the elves on screen, it just takes an absolute nosedive. Like, I don't know what it is exactly. It's been so long since I've watched this movie, but I just remember the climax of the movie not being great. And plus, those elves, oh god, those elves that they had on screen there, they just, oh man, they looked about as bad as the dwarves look in the upcoming live action Snow White movie. Just very ugly to look on screen, and uncanny valley kind of feel. But yeah, I mean, but this movie gets saved by the mere presence of Kurt Russell playing as Santa Claus. Christmas Again, haven't seen that. Last Christmas, haven't seen that. Christmas Prince, haven't seen that. The Best Christmas Ever, haven't seen that. What the heck? Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. Christmas Keepsake, I haven't seen that. Christmas Time, no. Christmas Prince, no. Santa Summit, no. Checking It Thrice, no. Merry Christmas, no. Christmas Prince again, nope. Christmas of Mistletoe Farm, I don't know. No. Christmas Island, nope. Santa Night, Evil Night, or Silent Night, Evil Night. I think that's what it says anyways. Haven't seen that. Black Christmas, no. Christmas with You, no. All right. So this is what distracted me, is this cover art of the Santa Claus. This is the first Santa Claus, and I have never seen that movie poster before. That's a new one to me. But anyway, I'll go ahead and put the Santa Claus in the perfect category, just below It's a Wonderful Life. I am a major simp for this movie, not gonna lie. Like, I grew up watching the Santa Claus and always had an attachment to it. And when I watched it in my adult years back in 2021, my love for this movie only grew more. Like, the only bad thing that I can really think about this movie and makes it technically not perfect would have to be the CG special effects and the green screen effects that were bad even for its time, that being the 90s. But aside from that, near perfect movie. The acting from Austin Lloyd, like I said earlier, is perfect, especially when like Neil like gets down to his level and says, Charlie, he's not Santa, and he just balls out and says, he is too, Santa, because, you know, he knows what he knows. He literally saw himself and his dad, Scott, go on this journey, giving out gifts to all the children of the world as Santa Claus. And so he knows it to be fact, but he feels like he's being gaslit into trying to forget what he very blatantly remembers, that one last holiday season ago. And also, the arc of Tim Allen's Scott Calvin. Like, I did not pay attention to the fact that Charlie, quite honestly, did not like Scott. He thought that he was cringy, thought he was annoying. But, hey, looking at his body language and actually paying attention with my adult brain, realized that, yeah, he did not really like him that much. But Scott Calvin actually is able to get Charlie to like him again by going on this magical Santa Claus adventure with each other. And it like reinvigorates the relationship, reinvigorates Charlie's enthusiasm for his dad and all that stuff. And it kind of puts him in this tight spot. Like, he just gained something that he has been wanting pretty much the last few years, ever since he was divorced from what's-her-name. And he's at risk of it getting taken away from him again. Because from the outside looking in, it's kind of unbelievable that Santa Claus would be real to everybody. And so like I said, from the outside looking in, it seems like as if Scott is just being a manipulative, quite honestly, not saying sexual, but still a manipulative groomer towards his son. And it just makes everybody want to like take take Charlie away from this weird, deluded creep that's lying to him, that being Scott Calvin. But as we know as a viewing audience, and as these two characters, Scott and Charlie, know, it is true. But they can't go blurbing it out. Even though they want to go ahead and brag about what they have done, and they want to say how proud they are of each other, especially Charlie towards his dad, they can't, because that would just ultimately ruin the relationship. And by the end, there's also the bit of a plot point of where that Scott Calvin was kind of a cynical businessman. He was only enthusiastic for Christmas on a very surface level. But because he goes on this journey with Charlie, he gets more invested in Christmas on a more fundamental roots level of liking it. And so not only did he reinvigorate his relationship with his son, but his son also reinvigorated his own passion for Christmas by him becoming Santa Claus. I can't even remember exactly the words, the speech that he gives to his son. But it goes something along the lines of, Charlie, you gave me the greatest gift of them all. Touching stuff, man. Right in the feels. It's just great movie. And I can't even think of a single bad performance in it. Even the child actors are at least serviceable. I mean, yeah, there are all the side kid characters, like all the classmates of Charlie. But still, even the one kid who's all like, so what you're saying, Mr. Calvin, is that for me to become Santa Claus, all I have to do is just push you off the roof? Like, honestly, even though that acting performance was not the greatest, it's still a pretty funny line. Some pretty funny lines that particular kid gives. Like, honestly, ultimately, not a single bad acting performance. They're either good in the way of actually being grounded, or they're good in a kind of campy kind of way. Neil is good as well. And honestly, here's another thing that I picked up on when I watched it in my adult years. There was about to be a fight between Neil and Scott when it come Thanksgiving, and he's wanting to visit his son. He comes through the door, and he's all like, Neil, don't make me hit you. Oh, does Santa now punch people now? Like this close. I can't even believe that I did not pick up on that little factoid when I was younger. But yeah, tensions were high in that rather subtle, underhanded kind of way. And there's just a lot of lines and performances and everything that Neil gives that kind of encapsulates perfectly this kind of almost douchey, passive-aggressive kind of personality that I witness with people in my life. And it's not even like it's like very explicit and in your face for people to realize, oh yeah, that guy is a jerk to Scott. Oh yeah, that guy is a jerk to Zach, and so on and so forth. No, it's just the most underhanded way to where that, unless if you were to pay absolute attention to detail, you wouldn't notice it. And just, yeah, I've rambled enough about that movie. Gotta go. Bye, everyone. Take care. See you later, Red Feather. Happy New Year. Frank JGZ says, caught your live stream rather late, but I can't stand Will Ferrell. I did watch a movie a long time ago called Prancer and another one called Krampus. That was somewhat decent. Arkham Knight Rider says, the original Black Christmas is a fantastic movie. All right. Maybe I'll have to watch it sometime. But moving on, The Night Before Christmas. And this ain't the movie that freaking Tim Burton did. It says The Night as in Knight. This looks like another cheesy Hallmark B movie. Haven't seen it, so can't judge. Ashen Brodel. Haven't seen that. Notting Hill. Nope. That almost looks like a Robin Hood based Christmas movie. Jingle Jangle. Haven't seen it. A Season for Family. Nope. Cherry Lane. Nope. Diary of a Wimpy Kid Christmas. Nope. Operation Christmas Drop. Nope. A Boy Called Christmas. No. It looks weird. To all a good night. Nope. And so A Christmas Story looks like one of those 90s slash early 2000s classic movies that is like dubbed as a must see by everybody. But here's the thing: I personally have never seen the movie. I need to see it, but I haven't, so it's going in the haven't watched category. And I don't see the movie available on Hulu or Disney Plus either, so not seeing it anytime soon unless if I come across a physical copy of it to rent out in the store or something. All right, here we go. Now, this one I've been waiting for to talk about. Violent Night. I love this movie. It's great. Um, Actually, I don't know if I want to put it in the great category or the amazing category. Where would I put it? Like, it's great. I love the crap out of this movie, but it's got its fair share of flaws. You know, I'll just put it in the great category. I'll put it right below Muppet Christmas. Actually, no, who am I kidding? I like it better than Muppet Christmas Carol. Fight me, y'all. Sorry that I ranked Violent Night above Muppet Christmas Carol, but that's how I feel. If you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend it. Like, as the movie title kind of implies, yes, there's a fair share of violence in it. Like, it's R-rated and everything. And this was like the movie that I was talking about earlier in this live stream that is pretty similar to Die Hard. Like, Violent Night is pretty much Die Hard, but Santa Claus instead of John McClane, with a bit of sprinkling of Home Alone in it. Just a little bit. That's my quickest way of summarizing it. And if that doesn't sell you the movie, well then here, let me try and sell you it a little bit more. So it's also equivocated to John Wick, but the thing is, I think Violent Night is a lot closer to being similar to Die Hard than John Wick, because it's not like Santa Claus is on a revenge quest to kill people for, well, revenge. He has to save lives in the same way that John McClane had to in Die Hard. Also, his own life, too. Well, actually, there is one point of where that he could just run away from the situation, but ultimately he has his heartstrings tugged at him to where that he goes back into the house and tries to save them all. But ultimately, regardless of all the violence, I really do think that underneath all the blood and gore, there really is a wholesome story to be told here of, and I'm not giving spoilers, by the way, but if you are worried about spoilers, here is your moment to click off. Spoiler alert, you have been warned, but ultimately, it's kind of a predictable movie, so it's not like I'm spoiling anything that big in the grand scheme of things. That's probably like one of the weak points of Violent Night, is of how kind of predictable that it is. But anyway, if you do care about that much about spoilers, well then here's your chance. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so beneath all the blood, guts, and gore, there is a wholesome story to be told there of basically Santa Claus saving a little kid from a group of violent thieves, and also her family as well, the kid's family, and getting her parents back together again. It's great stuff, honestly. Like, I will not tell you specifically on who exactly gets hurt or dies or whatever. I will say, though, I will add the flaw that this movie is kind of toothless. Like, it does for a movie that is like an R-rated movie of where that the bad guys have hostage a lot of characters, it kills off very few characters. Quite honestly, very few good guy characters anyways. Like, there's a lot of bad guys that get violently murdered and all that stuff, but still, there is a good movie to be had in here regardless of that stuff. Some slap-happy action in it. It's pretty funny as well. It's not quite as funny as National Lampoon Christmas Vacation, but it's still pretty funny in its own right. And just in general, the arc of Santa Claus going from this grumpy, old, jaded curmudgeon to having his Christmas spirit reinvigorated back in him because there's this one kid that he has to save who feels so spirited about Christmas herself. It just makes him realize again why he became Santa Claus in the first place. And also, John Leguizamo gives a very good performance as the main villain in this movie. And there's even like one scene in it briefly of where that he kind of gives a little bit of a compelling reason as to why he is the way he is. And he has a lot of the funny lines. And there are a few stiff performances in this movie, but in kind of it is kind of B-movie-esque in that kind of way, that there are a few stiff performances. And even Trudy, the little girl of this movie, she has her moments of being kind of stiff. But ultimately, I think she at least does the job to satisfactory. Anyways. But anyway. All right, so I drove away all the viewers because I said spoiler alert, but hopefully they'll come back. But anyway, Violent Night, 8 out of 10. I highly recommend it. Definitely give it a watch. It's great. All right, so Noel, haven't seen that. Christmas Family Tree, nope. Bad Santa, another classic that I go hearing about, but I haven't watched either. All right. This is everything Christmas. Regardless, I haven't seen that movie. Excuse me. White Christmas. Haven't seen that. Gremlins. I have seen it. It has been a few years, but I don't know. I don't even know if I would really classify it as a Christmas movie. I feel like that it's less of a Christmas movie than Die Hard. But I guess I will just for right now anyways. I'll go ahead and rank it as I'll go ahead and rate it as great. I'm going to put it right below Jim Carrey Grinch. From what I remember of the movie, it was great as an overall package. I can't remember too much about it, but just great movie. The Polar Express. All right. So I'm going to put it in the good category, but only not much higher. Actually, I think I'll put it above Elf because honestly, the Polar Express is very weak in the story side of things. Like, it is a very fun, action-packed joyride with some pretty fun performances from Tom Hanks as both the conductor and as the hobo character. But aside from that, it's kind of story weak. It kind of relies on the arc of the main character's arc, who is just titled Hero Boy in the credits, I believe. Anyways, his arc is just that he gotta believe. And the fact that the you gotta believe arc is based off of Santa Claus makes it kind of hard to get into. That might be kind of ironic considering of how high that I ranked the Santa Claus. And the basis of that movie is, well, that Santa Claus is real, but I don't know. It just wasn't leaned into enough. But ultimately, it was a fun movie. But probably the biggest reason why I have it ranked above Elf is because Elf acts like it has a better story than it actually does. Whereas the Polar Express, I think it realizes how much of a simplistic movie it is. And so therefore, that's why I put it above Elf. And sometimes simple is good. Sometimes you just want a simple, fun joyride of a movie with a couple of good performances and some great music in it. And a very stellar portrayal of the North Pole as well, too, for that matter. And also invokes the childlike imagination. Probably the worst part about the whole movie, though, has to be the know-it-all kid. Like, when I watched that, like, last holiday season, I was reminded pretty well of how annoying that character was. But overall, still pretty good movie. I tried watching a Bad Santa. The beginning turned me off, says Mr. Scott. Oh, I see. Okay. Christmas with the Cranks. Oh, boy. I don't remember the Christmas with the Cranks that much, but I think I remember it being pretty much trash. There wasn't any compelling arcs. It wasn't that funny. It was pretty mean spirited with of how that the rest of the neighbors were so obsessed with of how that the cranks need to put up their frosty decoration and the rest of their decorations too, for that matter. But the two main characters are just so incessant on going on their cruise vacation and all that jazz. And then suddenly, when it doesn't come through to fruition, they have to do all this last minute stuff of prepping for their annual Christmas party. I don't know. It's just very uncomfortable to watch. Not very funny. Maybe I'll put it above the Illumination Grinch just because it does not, from what I vaguely remember, it's not as boring as the Illumination Grinch sounds. And I will also give this, like, Christmas with the Cranks, well, I don't know. It has one of the weaker performances and interpretations of Santa Claus, but still not that bad of an interpretation of Santa. Like I said, I have yet to see a bad interpretation of Santa Claus. It's weak, the interpretation of Santa Claus that they have with in Christmas with the Cranks, but not that bad, not that horrible. But the movie as an overall package, yeah, it's pretty horrible. It's trash. One Magic Christmas, haven't seen that. The Night Before, nope. Jingle All the Way. Okay. So, Jingle All the Way, honestly, is a bad movie. But because of how much that I like it, overall, I had to put it in the okay category at least. Where would I put it, though? I'll go ahead and put it above Santa Claus 2 and The Christmas Chronicles. I watched it a few days ago with some of my immediate family when I threw my own Christmas party, and I'm reminded of at least one good aspect of it that I did not realize when I watched it last, being back in 2021. And that was the acting from the one lady who plays as the wife, Liz Langston. Like, she gives probably the best performance in the whole movie as far as realism goes. Like, all her little subtle body language as she's getting uncomfortable at freaking Ted, who looks like a discount bargain bin of Robin Williams with those glasses on, by the way. Rest in peace to Robin Williams. But it's a funny movie overall. Not much to be said about it. Just the reason why I like it so much is because of how funny it is. And plus the ending climax of where that you have Howard Turbo Man versus Myron Dementor. That final battle scene is fun to watch in its own right. It's not particularly great, but it's just as fun, like kid movie schlock. It's all right. And not to mention that ending soundtrack, the Turbo Man theme, that theme is just way too good for the movie that it's in. But the reason why it is ultimately a bad movie is because of how vapid and materialistic that the movie is. Like, the basis of the movie is, Howard Langston has to get this his kid, this Turbo Man. And that's the only reason why he can, like, get back the trust of his kid, is if he, like, freaking gets him a Turbo Man. I mean, there are some aspects, some other aspects to the trust of why that he doesn't really trust his dad, the Jake Lloyd character, Jamie. That's what his name is. But still, a lot of it hinges on the Turbo Man aspect of it, the trust that he has in his dad, or lack of, rather. And also, Jake Lloyd as Jamie was pretty terrible. Let's be honest. Jake Lloyd, respect to the man. I know that he was, like, harassed and bullied way too much after he performed as Anakin Skywalker, but let's be real. That doesn't excuse the fact that his performance as both Jamie and Anakin Skywalker were terrible. But Jingle All the Way, just an okay movie. It might deserve to go down here in the actual bad category, but I cannot, in good conscience, in my own personal opinion, put it anything below okay. Krampus. I hear that it's good, but I haven't seen it. Lesina de Natale. Haven't seen that movie either. Serenex Pity. I don't know. I haven't seen that. Okay. We're almost at the end here of this list here. Christmas as Usual. Haven't seen that. Surviving Christmas. No. The Nightmare Before Christmas. Okay. So, funny story. When I threw that Christmas party for my immediate family, one of the options that was proposed as a movie to watch was The Nightmare Before Christmas. And my mom ruled against it because she feels that it's not a Christmas movie ultimately. And ultimately, I do have to say that it's not Christmassy enough for me to feel like watching it, but it might have enough Christmas aspects in it for me to go ahead and include it in my own rank it. So I'm going to go ahead and rank it. It's been a few years since I watched it, but I remember it being good. Like, I'll go ahead and put it above Elf because honestly, that's how much I want to spite all the Elf fans. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But still, Night Before Christmas, I remember it being a good and of decent quality, but and it looks pretty. It's like one of the most iconic stop motion, full length stop motion movies out there. But the biggest reason why I don't really care that much for it is because how many years ago my friend group was like on this trend of watching it on an almost monthly basis. And so the movie has gotten very freaking old for me to where now I just don't particularly care that much for it. But I remember it being of good quality, so I'll go ahead and put it in the good category, just out of good favor, as a good favor to all its fans. Nothing Like the Holidays, haven't seen that. Christmas Trade, nope. A Different Kind of Christmas, nope. All In for Christmas, nope. A Christmas Reunion, nope. Four Christmases and a Wedding. Okay. At first, I thought this was going to be Four Christmases with Vince Vaughn in it, but it's not. I go looking closely at the face there, and that is not Vince Vaughn there. So that's not the movie that I watched. So it's going in the haven't watched category. An Evergreen Christmas, haven't watched that. My Christmas Hero, haven't watched that. Bob the Builder. I didn't know that Bob the Builder had a freaking Christmas special. Oh, haven't seen it, so going there. The Christmas Card, nope. Black Xmas, nope. Vacanza di Natale 2000, nope. The Legend of the Christmas Witch, nope. Inspiring Christmas with You, nope. Some version of Mickey Mouse Christmas, haven't watched that one. I have seen the Ebenezer Scrooge Christmas Carol special, but I'm not so sure if I see it on this list. We'll have to keep on going. Yol Manding Datter. I can't read that. It's in too small letter, and it looks like it's like in German spelling, so I can't make it out. But I haven't watched it, so going there. Casper's Haunted Christmas. Nope. How the how the Gringo Stole Christmas. Oh, that's beautiful. That from the title alone, that sounds like a hoot. Maybe I should watch that, but I haven't, so it's going there. Le Befana Vien Not. Haven't watched it. Lost Christmas. Nope. Red One. I haven't watched Red One. And I don't know if I'll ever care to watch it because honestly, it has Dwayne Johnson in it. And Dwayne Johnson is not really a selling point for me. Dwayne Johnson is not a losing point for me, but I just, he always gives the same performance over and over again. He's pretty much one of those one note actors. There's only two performances that I thought that he ever gave that was actually good, that being in Gridiron Gang and Snitch. Aside from that, he's pretty much the same guy. And I don't know, maybe I'll watch it sometime in the future, but for right now, I haven't watched it. And I don't really care much to. I'm not going to rush to it this holiday season to watch it. Astrid Lindgren, haven't watched that. I can't even read that, but I will say I haven't read that one. Christmas Eve something. The Dog Days of Christmas, haven't watched that. Feliz Pascavas? It doesn't say Navidad. It says Feliz Pascavas? I don't know. I can't read that, but I haven't watched it. Nico, haven't watched that. All right, here we go. The 60s animated Grinch. Pretty good. But on a very personal level, I like the Jim Carrey version a bit better. Like, I think that both these movies are about equally good in their own right, but in different ways. But it was a nice throwback to the 60s when I watched it a few Christmas seasons ago. Actually, it might have been last Christmas season. I don't know. Great movie, just not quite in the amazing or perfect category, in my opinion. There wasn't enough story content for it to like really rocket itself up there. Belle's Magical Christmas. Man, it's been so long since I watched the Beauty and the Beast Christmas special. But I guess I gone ahead and ranked Gremlins and Nightmare Before Christmas and Peanuts Christmas despite barely remembering those movies. So I guess I'll go ahead and rank this. I'll just put in the okay category. I don't remember Beauty and the Beast and Enchanted Christmas being that terrible. I just thought that was okay from what I remember. And plus, Tim Curry as the Oregon was pretty fun. Tim Curry always helps elevate the movies that he's in. Teddy's Christmas, nope. I can't even read that one. It almost looks like another Christmas Carol interpretation. And watch it. Home for Christmas, nope. A Medea Christmas, nope. A Firehouse Christmas, nope. Merry Christmas, nope. Christmas something something, nope. A Christmas Detour, nope. Santa and C, I don't know. Santa and Chi. Christmas Elves, nope. Elsist and Ein Elk Entsprungen. Some German Christmas movie that I can't even read. Blue Christmas, haven't seen that. I think I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it. Something. I can't even read that. Take Me Back for Christmas. Nope. Yulfrangen. Nope. Yogi's First Christmas. I remember watching this many years ago, but I don't think I've ever watched it, sat down and watched it in its entirety. So, might be a tad hypocritical with how I'm doing this, but I'm going to go ahead and put in the haven't watched, don't remember category. Because I at least remember like a few things a little bit better about the Beauty and the Beast Christmas special than the Yogi's Christmas special. Journey to the Christmas Star, nope. Haven't seen any of these Barbie's Christmas movies. Actually, maybe I have seen the Nutcracker Barbie movie, but it's been like over 2 decades ago, and I'm not going to care enough to ever go my way and watch it again. Holiday Calendar, haven't watched it. Snow. All I can read from that movie poster is snow, but I haven't watched it. Love Actually, nope. Holiday, nope. Christmas Bridge, I don't know. I haven't watched that. Hot and Frosty, nope. That Christmas. This looks like an Arthur Christmas spinoff, but I haven't watched it. Our Little Secret, nope. Carry On, nope. You Can't Re-Give Family, nope. And that's my personal ranking. They don't have 4 Christmases in here. Good thing I have it pulled up here on Google. I think I am going to go ahead and add it to this list here just for funsies. Just because I really want to talk about this movie and how bad it is. Or at least I want to go ahead and rank it anyways. 4 Christmases movie poster. All right, let me see if I can go ahead and add it. Go ahead and edit alone. Open. Okay, yeah, we got that. And I'll say they don't have Frosty the Snowman either. I'm going to go ahead and put that in here as well. They have the Charlie Brown Christmas special, but not the Frosty the Snowman Christmas Christmas short. That's weird. Let me add that. Frosty the Snowman movie poster. Browse. Pull that up. All right. So present again. All right. So again, back to it. I added 2 more movies to this list. 4 Christmases. Garbage. Trash. Terrible. You know, I'll go ahead and rank it above Christmas with the Cranks just because I think that there might have been like some little semblance of a good core story to it. And that being like these 2 people who were just lovers. They were like unwedded, like boyfriend and girlfriend who were always like having sex and relationship with each other, but they did not want to commit until they go on this journey of checking out each other's families for their, 4 Christmases, because both of them have like divorced parents who have their own separate Christmases. And for each parent, they have to go to one Christmas party. So thus the name, 4 Christmases. And through this journey, the one girl played by Reese Witherspoon, I can't even remember her name. Is it Kate? Or was one of the other side chicks called Kate? I can't remember. But the one girl, the Reese Witherspoon character, she goes witnessing all these kids and how that they give some love and affection and all the feel-goodsies to their parents, and kind of even give her some of the wholesome serotonin feel-goodsies to where that it invigorates her to finally want to start getting married and have kids with the Vince Vaughn character. Brad, I think, is what Vince Vaughn's name is in this movie. And he follows along with it by the end. But they don't stick the landing with that, as it just ends anticlimactically with them birthing the baby, and then they get busted in by camera crew, some news channel camera crew, who's all like, let's get ourselves introduced to the first baby of the new year. And they see them, and then the baby like pukes on the both of them. And the dad is all like, ugh, I'm going to puke. Ugh. And it just cuts the credits. Very anticlimactic movie. I don't like it. I felt like I wasted my time last night watching this movie. It was so painfully unfunny, too, is the worst part about it. Like, Vince Vaughn is known for playing comedy movies. And quite honestly, my introduction to Vince Vaughn was his performances in Brawl in Cell Block 99 and Hacksaw Ridge as Sergeant Howe. It wouldn't be until like a few years later that I would finally watch Dodgeball, one of his comedy movies. And here I am. I watched 4 Christmases. And I guess, the 2000s era of comedy movies really has its stinkers. And this is one of them. But yeah, it was so painfully unfunny. There wasn't any build up at all to why that all the boys and the brothers of Vince Vaughn's character want to just beat the crap out of him. It's just randomly, let's start getting violent with them just all of a sudden. It's like, am I supposed to laugh at this part here? Where's the funny? It was painfully unfunny. Everybody is a jerk in this movie. Everybody's a scumbag, except for Reese Witherspoon's dad. Almost kind of looks like Christopher Walken. I don't know if that's actually Christopher Walken who plays as her dad in this movie, but he's probably like the only decent character in the movie. But ultimately, not a good enough character to save this movie ultimately. Oh, you know what's another movie I need to add? The old Miracle on 34th Street. They did not put that one on here. Let me go ahead and put that on here. Miracle on 34th Street. All right. Actually, no, we'll use the black and white poster for this one. Save image. Miracle on 34th Street movie poster. Man, this movie, this tier maker list has included a lot of movies that I have never watched before, but it's also included, it also neglected to add some movies that I have watched before and, quite frankly, very well remember. But yeah, what more is there to say about Four Christmases? It's garbage. It's a stinker. It's down there in the bottom tier of all these movies. I liked it less than even Santa Claus 3. It The only thing that was somewhat funny was when Brad, Vince Vaughn's character, gives this over the top performance playing as Joseph in the Birth of Jesus live play that they put on in front of Reese Witherspoon's church congregation. That was the only funny part of the whole movie. But aside from that, again, I can't emphasize it enough. Painfully unfunny. All right. Frosty the Snowman. Okay. So here's how I rank it. It's okay. Quite honestly. It's a classic, I know, and probably a lot of people will hate me for not ranking it higher than that. But honestly, I watched it last night, or maybe it was the night before. But either way, I've watched it recently in this holiday season, and it's all right. Like, again, interpretation of Santa Claus was pretty good. Jack Frost, Frosty was a pretty endearing character. Karen was all right. Although, whenever I kept on hearing the name Karen mentioned in the movie, I kept on thinking to myself, man, that name really hasn't aged well. I pity anybody who is named Karen nowadays because Karen has become such a pejorative now. But yeah, very short, sweet, simple movie, but nothing amazing. And honestly, I think what the one thing that really bugs me the most about this movie is you got the villain, the magician character who goes talking about who goes like cursing out his hat, not literally cursing his hat, but he goes trashing on his hat, thinking that it's bad, a faulty magic hat, and he's about to get rid of it. But the way that the scene portrays it, so he's about to get rid of his hat, but before he actually decides fully on what he wants to do with his hat, he goes chasing back down for his hat when his pet rabbit is like hopping away with it. So obviously in that moment, he wants his hat back, and then the hat ends up landing on Frosty the Snowman's head. Now, and there's honestly, it's very dubious the morals that they are portraying in this show right here. They go acting like suddenly, oh, the hat is not the magician's anymore. It's Frosty's hat now. They go saying he did not want the hat anymore, but ultimately I mean, I don't know. It was just a kind of contradicting and a bit of a cognitive dissonance on the movie's part. On the one hand, he didn't want the hat because it was absolute trash. But on the other hand, he was also chasing down the hat. On the one hand, he was maybe about to get rid of it. But on the other hand, he goes claiming it back, saying that it was ultimately his hat. He did not quite throw it away just yet. But yeah, I did not like that scene, and yeah, kind of dubious morals right there. Like just as if you go saying that you're almost tempted to throw something away, therefore that means that other people can claim the item before you have officially thrown it away. No, that's not how that works. That's just theft at that point. But ultimately, I mean, yeah, the magician was trying to kill a sentient being, that being this magically come to life snowman. So I guess there is that villainy aspect to it, to be fair. All right. The original 30s Miracle on 34th Street. Pretty good movie. Where would I put it, though? I think I'll go ahead and put it above A Peanuts Christmas. Pretty charming. I will say that I liked the Santa Claus in the 30s version better than Richard Attenborough. Like, Richard Attenborough gave a good performance as Santa in his own right, but I think I prefer like the kind of American and almost more traditional interpretation of Santa, that being the one portrayed in the 30s version, over that of the overly sophisticated, posh and uptight British person that Richard kind of Santa Claus that Richard Attenborough puts on as this Santa. So, and also throughout the entire movie, it's more charming. And I forgot to mention this about the 90s version. In the 90s version of Miracle on 34th Street, it does not go leaning into how that the kid lacks imagination, how the kid does not really know how to have fun. But in the 30s version, they go kind of showing more of that. And Santa Claus ultimately tries to teach the kid how to play imagination, like teaches her, hey, just pretend to be a monkey. Although I will say that the monkey sounds that Kris Kringle puts on in that movie did not actually sound like monkey. It was like a weird, weird grunts of a rodent of some kind. It did not actually sound like a monkey. It was very weird, but still, that was still charming. Ultimately, they did not have that in the 90s version, and just the movie did not take itself that seriously. And that's, unless you are like It's a Wonderful Life, I do not want a Christmas movie. I would prefer, anyways, a Christmas movie not to take itself that seriously. And that is one thing that the 90s version of Miracle did, is take itself way too seriously. Whereas the 30s version was more charming and more having fun with itself. Ultimately, probably the only thing that and also, I got to add that the girl character puts on a better performance in this version as opposed to the 90s version. But really, probably the one bad thing about the 30s version, in my opinion anyways, has to be the ending climax of it all. And that the way that the court trial is won by Team Santa is that there's a whole bag of Santa letters dumped on the desk of the judge, and that's supposed to be how he wins the court trial. Like, the way that the 90s version portrayed it was kind of cheesy and ham-fisted a bit too, but I would argue that the bag of letters in the original one was even more so, with of how that what am I trying to say? With of how that all these kids who wrote letters to Santa is evidence that this particular guy is the Santa Claus. Like, for all you know, all these different kids who wrote their Dear Santa letters could have been trying to send those Dear Santa letters to an entirely different mall Santa, and not this particular one that is in court trial for assaulting a therapist or attacking a therapist in general. So it was pretty flimsy and unbelievable, and I just could not get into it. Way cheesy. But still, again, not as cheesy as the rushed wedding scene in the 90s version. And there you have it, folks. So, to remind people, going from worst to best on my tier maker list here, in case you're just listening and not actually watching. So, in the horrible/trash category, we have the Illumination version of The Grinch. Sorry, not sorry. I really hate it that much. Christmas with the Cranks, and then Four Christmases. In the merely just bad category, Santa Claus 3, A Christmas Carol, the Jim Carrey version, and Miracle on 34th Street, the 90s version. Ultimately, I guess I would have to say that both of these two movies, the 90s Christmas Carol, the 90s Miracle on 34th Street and the Jim Carrey Christmas Carol, are not that bad. There's a lot of more bad aspects in the Jim Carrey version than the 90s Miracle on 34th Street, or at least things that annoyed me more blatantly anyways. But because of its a book loyalty, it's a loyalty to the source material, it isn't that bad of a movie. It's just me on a super personal level. I think that the motion capture Christmas Carol is a 2 out of 10. And 90s Miracle on 34th Street, Richard Attenborough gives a pretty decent performance as Santa, but still ultimately a pretty forgettable movie. Not offensively bad, just forgettable kind of bad. And in the okay category, we have Frosty the Snowman. Sorry, people. I think it's kind of overrated. Beauty and the Beast and Enchanted Christmas. I really don't hate that movie. Plus, Tim Curry gives a good performance. The Santa Claus 2 with Tim Allen. Yeah, it's lame. Definitely a downgrade from its original. The Christmas Chronicles. Kurt Russell as Santa is great, but everything else about this movie is weak. Jingle All the Way. Very funny movie, but the premise of it is pretty bad. And plus, Jake Lloyd, again, gives a pretty bad performance. Elf. Okay, and so now in the good category, Elf. Sorry, people. I think it's pretty overrated. Like Ed Asner as Santa, the old Elf is good, and Will Ferrell can occasionally be charming. And plus, the Peter Dinklage scene is pretty funny. But the North Pole is pretty trashy looking. You know what I just realized? I realized that they don't have Fred Claus on this list. Hold on a second. I'm going to add that very quickly. So that's the other bad movie that Vince Vaughn has done that I was struggling to remember is the Fred Claus movie. I guess Vince Vaughn isn't that much of a smash hit movie star. All right. Present again. Fred Claus. I'm going to put it in the bad category. Probably right below Santa Claus 3. I got pretty bored out of my mind watching Fred Claus, and so that's why it's down there. But at least it had a pretty good interpretation of the North Pole. But anyway, back on track here. In the good category, Elf, very bad interpretation of Polar Express, and the rushed arc of the dad and Buddy getting on good terms with each other again. So because of those two reasons, I really think the movie is pretty overrated. But it did have some good aspects. Will Ferrell can be occasionally charming, like I said, and Peter Dinklage was funny, and Ed Asner's Santa was good, and the old Elf was good too. Nightmare Before Christmas. Don't remember much about it, but I remember it being good. I just don't care for it that much. Polar Express, a fun joyride despite of how story weak it is. A Peanuts Christmas, I remember it being pretty charming, pretty good, but I just don't remember it that well. And the 30s Miracle on 34th Street, pretty charming, pretty fun. Just the climax was not for me. In the great category, we have Gremlins. Don't remember it too well, but I remember it being a fun 80s action horror movie. Kind of more kid-oriented action horror movie. And the 60s cartoon of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, pretty good, pretty charming, pretty smooth and jazzy. I like it. I like it a lot. I like the smooth and almost suave villainous portrayal of the Grinch. And then we have the Jim Carrey Grinch. I kind of am still liking of the megalomaniacal Grinch that Jim Carrey portrays a little bit better than the original cartoon Grinch. Sorry, people. And the whole movie just as a whole is funnier overall. And just ultimately has more story content than the original 60s cartoon. Sorry. Home Alone 2, pretty much a copy paste of the original Home Alone, but at least it had Tim Curry, and some of the action set pieces were fun. Well, action slapstick, semi action set pieces that were fun as well. And Christmas in New York is always fun to watch. National Lampoon Christmas Vacation. Again, one of the funniest Christmas movies out there. Muppet Christmas Carol. Michael Caine is great in this movie, and just an overall charming and fun movie. Violent Night. Very fun, slap-happy action, even if it does have some predictabilities and can be occasionally toothless in its storytelling. Klaus. Really great movie. Really beautiful with its art style and a couple of great story arcs. Okay. Oh. Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too, Mr. Scott. The first Home Alone. Funny, charming, um, invokes a childlike imagination, and yeah, just really fun movie. An ultimate Christmas classic here. Die Hard. Fun, action packed movie with some bit of Christmas charm in it as well. And it has just enough Christmas charm in it to where that I can solidly call it a Christmas movie. I don't care what the naysayers say. I am pretty much in the camp of Die Hard is a Christmas movie. It's not the most Christmassy of Christmas movies, but it's just enough to where I can put it in there. And in the perfect tier, we have Santa Claus, the Santa Claus with Tim Allen in it. I really, really do not like the CG animation and, or excuse me, the special effects and the green screen effects of this movie. It was bad for even in its time, but everything else about it is absolutely amazing, and I cannot see very many faults about it, storytelling wise, or acting performance wise, or anything else for that matter. I will forever love this movie, and I will forever defend it. Well, actually, now that I think about it, I don't know if there's like that many people that actually do hate the Santa Claus. Maybe I should look out for them and make a response video to them. But oh well. And then the number one, creme de la creme, cherry on top, the best Christmas movie of all time, It's a Wonderful Life. And even I will grant, even in the colorized version, it was an all right movie. And I was able to catch on some details about the movie watching it in color a few days ago on Christmas night, as opposed to watching it in black and white like I normally do. But I still prefer the black and white version. Great movie. In fact, perfect movie. Literally perfect. Even more so than the first Santa Claus, because at least it did not have any stick out like a sore thumb, terrible special or green screen effects. And an absolutely compelling main story arc in it too. Absolutely emotionally gripping. Like, I almost welted up and cried when he was all like, Clarence, give me my life back. I want to live again. God, please. I want to live again. And if you do not get emotional at that part, nor at the part of where that he's in the living room in his house and everybody like gives him the money and then sings, Hark the Herald Angels Sing, then you are absolutely, I don't know, you are without emotion. You are like out of touch if that does not get you. I am in agreement with Critical Drinker that, yeah, it is hard to watch that movie without getting emotional somewhat anyways. But anyway, I went too long with this live stream. Nothing new in the live chat ever since Mr. Scott just came back to say Merry Christmas, you filthy animal, and commented much earlier about Bad Santa. But anyway, thank you all for watching. This is fun. I had fun. Now I'm gonna go off and do something else. In fact, I did not intend for this live stream to take so long. But there you have it. You have my opinions on Christmas movies, on all the ones that I personally have seen and know of, anyways. But there's still quite a few that I gotta watch sometime. Anyway, thank you all for watching, who have watched, and thank you all who will watch. Leave your comments down in the comment section down below. How would you rank this? Tell me how pissed you are at me for saying that Elf is overrated, for liking the Jim Carrey Grinch above that of the 60s version of Grinch, for how low that I ranked Frosty the Snowman, or anything else like that. See y'all later. Y'all have a happy new year. Take care. Stay safe and God bless. End it. Did that end it? Damn it. Is it ending? Come on. End!